Good afternoon. My name is Jim Ciccarello. I will be your host today for Amplify Your Why with AI. We're going to welcome everybody to this session. I would encourage you to use the chat and tell us a little bit about your business, a little bit about maybe what you're interested in getting out of this webinar. We'll wait a few more minutes to allow everybody to jump in, and we will get started. So again, my name is Jim. I'll be your host, and in a few minutes, we'll introduce your presenter, Maria. Very good. Thank you. Again, I encourage everybody to put in the chat maybe a little bit about what you'd like to get out of this webinar. Maybe where you're located. This webinar was advertised throughout North Carolina, so in some cases beyond. So we'd love to hear where you're from. We'll also we'll get started here in a few minutes. Thank you so much. There we go. We're starting to see some feedback in the chat. Great. Rosalinga, very good. Welcome. Jessica, welcome. Appreciate you being here. We got somebody from Raleigh. Very good. Stephanie, thank you. Thanks for being here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Great, great. Rob, very good from Concord, starting a home inspection business. AI can help in that regard big time. Excellent. Andrew Smith, very good. Well, this is good. It looks like we got folks from all over the state, which is amazing. We'll give a few more minutes to allow some more folks. We had a lot of people sign up, so I suspect that everybody's still queuing up to get into the event. So this is amazing. Gina from Harrisburg, very good. Christy from Boone, oh, just north of Charlotte. Excellent. Thank you, Christy. Thanks for being here. Charleston, South Carolina. That's where I lived. I lived in Charleston for 15 years. Great city. Great city. Loved it.
I also put my information in the chat in case anyone wants to connect with me later.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, well, it's a few minutes after, so I'd like to get started. First, I'd like to say a few words about SCORE. So is a great organization. It's a part of a national organization. I represent the Charlotte chapter, Charlotte, North Carolina chapter. You can see that we have chapters from all over the state. I'll go through those on the next slide. And on this slide, you see the services that SCORE provides. So we do here out of the Charlotte chapter free confidential mentoring. These are one-on-one sessions. They're typically over Zoom or video, sometimes in person. And what these sessions are is, we want to be your trusted advisor. We want to help you grow your business because that is the mission of SCORE. We've got over 10,000 volunteers nationwide and 90 here in the Charlotte area. This organization's been around for over 60 years, so it's a tried and true. In addition to mentoring, we do educational programs, mostly virtual, some in person. We do over 50 webinars just like this on an annual basis. So we encourage you to take advantage of those webinars and get a Charlotte mentor, because the mentor, if you use the mentoring service and you use it in conjunction with the educational programs, it can be very, very powerful for your business. And then the last piece is our community outreach programming. We do a series of networking and education programs in person throughout the Charlotte larger metro area. We actually service 17 counties, 15 in South Carolina and 15 in North Carolina, sorry, and 2 in South Carolina. We also do an annual pitch event, which is coming up on May 28th, where the winner can win $5,000. So we're very, very engaged in our community. And it's not just Charlotte, but it's all through the state of North Carolina. So if you're interested in a mentor, I would encourage you to go to score.org and put in your zip code, and you will be informed as to which chapter you're closest to, and then you could sign up and you'll get a mentor, a local mentor. So it's a great resource for everyone. Okay, with that, I am going to turn it over to our presenter today, Maria Pelagian. She is a serial entrepreneur, a tech founder, and the CEO of GlobalFly, which is a Los Angeles-based advertising agency. We are extremely lucky to have Maria with us today. She serves on the board of directors for several organizations, and I think what's even really cool is the fact that she is a SBA Impact Award recipient. So we're really, really lucky to have Maria today. And with that, I will turn it over to Maria for today's presentation. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here and to present to you. Um, Really simple, but yet innovative methodologies that I've been using over the years at my agency, GlobalFly, where we've been helping a lot of tech startup companies as well as government, Department of Labor, specifically their Job Corps program, Fortune 100 and 500 companies. And my passion has always been to really share some of this knowledge and expertise that I've gained over the years with smaller businesses, because as a small business myself, I I, I had to work really, really hard to learn the easier way. And I've over the last couple of years, AI has helped me tremendously, tremendously. And I'm excited to share some of the AI technology that I use on a daily basis, but also share the methodology behind the Y amplifier. So people refer to me as Maria with the Y, and in the tech industry specifically, I'm called the Y amplifier. And the reason behind that is that any tech startup or any government agency or a business that comes to me and says, we need help advertising, I always start with the why. Well, why do you exist? Why should they choose you? What's your difference, right? And so starting with the why for me has always been important, and then making sure that you have the structure to create whatever your why may be, your purpose, your calling, that you're turning it into a profitable business, and then amplifying it through advanced and emerging technology. So it's a very simple method, and I would love to walk you through basically today what you would be walking away with. Um, Jim, are you able to see my entire screen without
I
my...
can. Everything looks
Okay,
great,
perfect.
Maria.
Just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure as we
perfect.
progress. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
I put in the chat for everyone
We'll share.
to use the Q&A for questions, and that just wanted to let everybody know that you will be getting today's deck. Maria's graciously gonna allow that to be distributed to everybody. So I just wanted everyone to know that. Thank you so much.
Yes, please put all your questions in Q&A, and if it's okay, I would love to hold the questions until the end, and we can open it up for Q&A at the end. So, phase one, solidify a clear why message. It's super important, especially post-pandemic. It is so noisy out there, and it's important that you have a very clear why message, right? If you're starting a business, well, why? What's the story behind it? And then phase two is a simple customer acquisition roadmap. There are so many different methodologies out there, so many things you can do, but you have to start from somewhere. And I'll walk you through the simplest way to start where you could use AI and different technology to create that. And then phase three, execute AI tools to execute faster and save hundreds an hour. Hundreds. In my case, I save probably hundreds of hours a week. I'm not exaggerating. And then amplify it. 30-day plan to build that pipeline. So the problem, like I addressed it a little bit, but the problem nowadays, besides especially our online space, is so noisy. The number one issue is that if your message is not clear, the customers get confused. People don't understand. So it's important before you start using AI to really solidify these things internally and have a clear understanding of what your message is going to be. And sometimes you might be torn between two, three things. You might want to help two, three different types of audiences and provide several solutions. Don't do that. Stick with one. Start with one and then add on later. The second problem is inconsistent marketing, no momentum. So if you try something and you don't consistently do it and have the opportunity to optimize, then you're not gonna see the results. Nothing takes, even with our campaigns, we're experts at media buying, city takeovers, and even when we start a campaign with a client, we set ourselves up to test for at least 3 to 6 months because it takes 3 months on average for us to look at the results, optimize, and then cut what's not working and then allocate more money to what's working. So consistency is going to be key. And then too many tools, especially now, every day there's a new AI tool, so it's confusing. Which tool do you use? And then the fourth one is effort does not equal pipeline. You could be doing a lot of busy work, but if you're not measuring and you're not really going back and trying to see the easiest route that helps you build that pipeline, then you're not being efficient. And then no follow-up system. This is such a big problem. And it's a problem that I personally face myself too as an entrepreneur. I'll go to conferences and networking events, and then I'll find myself not following up with a lot of these amazing contacts that I just, developed, these networks that I really put time and effort into networking. And then if I'm not following up, then it's a lost opportunity. So that's a problem that unfortunately I think all entrepreneurs or most entrepreneurs, I should correct myself, deal with. I myself, am number one with that. Um, so what works in 2026? And I'm going to start clockwise here. Clarity drives results. A clear message that helps your audience instantly understand what you do and why it matters. Consistency builds trust. Showing up regularly with the same message across channels is what's going to help you ultimately build oops, sorry, went back too fast. And then distribution creates visibility. This is also very important because where you have to be really careful at the channels you're using to distribute your message. And the channels need to be also selected by the target audience that you're trying to reach. Community creates momentum. So I'm huge on community. For me, a lot of our city takeovers, anytime we do a city takeover campaign, it entails a lot of different channels, paid channels, organic, and so on. But a lot of times we look at the community and we try to see how can we partner with the community. And instead of spending hundreds and thousands of dollars for our clients sometimes on billboards, for example, which is bought through a billion-dollar network, we're like, how can we partner with an organization, a nonprofit organization that can spread the word for us? And we can still allocate some budget to it, do help them, but in reality, they can help us. And for example, when we work with Job Corps program, we know that Job Corps obviously putting their helping them with billboards and geofence programmatic ads is very helpful because that's how students learn about the program. But we know that Job Corps also gets a lot of referrals from nonprofit organizations and high schools and foster homes. And so developing those community partnerships is very, very important. Revenue focus. Anytime you're thinking about sales and you're thinking about your pipeline, you have to have a focus on the revenue, and it's important to have a defined offer and a measurable outcome tied directly to generating the leads and the sales and the growth. You might end up testing out different things, that different offers, but if you're not tracking to see which one is generating more leads for you, then it's almost it's almost useless, right? And so you want to make sure that from the beginning, whatever structures you implement, that you follow through. And I know it can be hard when you're wearing a lot of different hats, and I know especially it can be hard when you get busy with clients and customers that are, if you have a retail store, all of a sudden everyone's coming in and you have no time to track. But I promise you, if you track, you will find more time to do what matters, and you will learn how to optimize your business so that you are doing basically the 80/20 rule in retail for me is one of the best examples, because if you're not tracking and measuring and seeing where are the leads coming from and what's an easier route, how much time did I allocate to, let's say, focusing on LinkedIn, if I'm posting things organically on LinkedIn or messaging prospective clients on LinkedIn, track that time, see how much time that takes, and then look back and see, okay, well, I have 4 leads from LinkedIn. I invested about 4 hours. Then I did an ad on Instagram, and that took me maybe 20 minutes to set up, and I had 10 leads. So compare and see what's taking more time, what's taking less time, and then optimize. And then audience clarity is super important. Like I said earlier, try to prioritize the audience, have a really clear understanding who you serve, their pain points, and what drives their decision. And this is where AI can really help you, because if you're prompting AI and saying, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, and you prompt it and say, please be my market research analyst who can help me with building out personas based on this product, help me do an industry analysis, and then narrow down the audience, maybe even give it some feedback and say, these are the audience, these are the type of people, that the type of clients or customers that I've had over the past year. And I'm trying to really understand their behavior, where they live, and all of that. AI can really help you do a lot of this this initial research, right? The market research, and specifically your audience research and the personas. You need to have personas, and the personas are important because your messaging needs to be customized to personas. One thing we did recently for one of our clients, we ended up building out personas, and they have their mission and their campaigns and the pillars and everything. So we fed that into AI and said, here are all the different personas, and we are trying to basically we build out different GPTs with each persona, and then fed the brand guidelines, fed the pillars and the mission and the vision, and then said, help us build out campaigns that are customized to each persona. So what it did, it helped us basically create the messaging that speaks to each audience differently. Now, again, I'm going to say prioritize that. Don't try to spread yourself too thin going after 5 different personas with 5 different messages. You could do an A/B test where you maybe target 2 personas and see what works, what doesn't. But when you spread yourself so thin, it's really hard to dive deeper into the data and analyze. So I would say start with one audience, have that clarity on one audience, one persona, so that you can really hone in on that messaging. Clarify your why. So, again, I guess I jumped in a little bit too soon into this. Who do you serve, right? Clearly define your ideal customer, their needs, and what drives their decision. What problem do you solve? A lot of times we know in our heads so clearly what we do, and we assume that our prospective clients know exactly what we're talking about. And sometimes we might use certain words that they might not understand, that like I use a lot of times KPI, and I forget that sometimes if they're not in the tech industry, they might not understand that that's key performance indicator. And so you have to simplify um, when you're explaining what problem you solve. And when you work on the personas and identify your target audience, it will help you also. And this is where AI can be also very helpful. It can help you really put it in the simplest form, so the messaging in the most simplest way so that they can really understand whatever problem it is that you're solving. And then what outcome do you deliver? This is very important. As I mentioned, it's very noisy out there. And if you're not simple, quick, and you're not clearly stating how you're going to solve their problem, you're going to lose them after 8, 9 seconds. The chances are, if they see your ad or if they're even talking to you, sometimes, if you're talking, if your pitch is too long and you're sharing what you do isn't clear and to the point, you might lose them and they might walk away not remembering what it is that you do. So really work on that. I usually say focus on a 30 to 60-second pitch. Not 90 max. That's it. And then once you see that they're engaged, then maybe continue, bring in examples and client case studies, but in general, keep it as short as possible. Why you versus others? In your 30, 60 pitch, you should have that differentiator as to why you, if possible. What do you stand for? That's also very, very important, right? This is why having a story as to, you know, a lot of times we start businesses because we have a clear why, right? It could be because we had a pain point and we're trying to solve that pain point. I'll give you an example. Right after grad school, I started a shoe company and it was in the bridal industry. And I started the shoe company because of my best friend who couldn't find shoes, bridal shoes that were high heels and but also comfortable. And that was the real story behind it. But then the other story, which was somewhat of a secret, and I hardly shared that initially with anyone, was the fact that after I had kids, my feet got really wide for some reason, even though I barely gained any weight. And every shoe that I bought, especially high heels, would hurt my feet so much that I couldn't stand being in these shoes more than an hour. And so then I started, by accident, one day I shared that story. And then I remember that person saying, "Wow, that's such a big problem. I have that problem, and I know all my girlfriends have that problem." So then she did a party at her house and introduced my shoes to all her girlfriends. And then one of the girlfriends happened to be a stylist who worked at Sony and introduced me to a bunch of different TV shows and started make ordering shoes for all these TV shows and these very known actresses. And so I shortly realized that my real pain point and my real why resonates better than the fact that I said, yeah, okay, I started it because of my best friend. Well, I did start it because of her to a certain extent, I guess in the bridal industry, but in reality, I really started because I wanted comfortable shoes. So you gotta have that. I know most of you already have a really clear why, but being brave enough to share it authentically is what's gonna matter. And right now, with all the different videos and stories where we can't even tell whether it's AI or real, the more authentic you are, the more attention you're gonna get, I promise you. And then what is your core message, right? Summarize your business into one clear, simple sentence so people understand immediately. Next, This is a very quick exercise, and I'll walk you through a more detailed one that you could use. And again, we're going to share the deck so you could use some of these examples, but define your audience problem solution. I mean, in reality, it's really three things you have to focus on, right? My audience is like for me, my audience at that time were the brides, bride to bees. Their biggest problem was finding high heels that were comfortable. My solution was high 5-inch heels that are comfortable, made out of lambskin, and Poron, which is used in NASA, which absorbs impact. So you can be in my shoes for 8 hours. Simple as that. That was my pitch, and it worked. Turn why into an offer. So having an offer is super important. Every time I pitched, whether it was my shoes or any other company that I had started, it always followed with an offer, right? Like, and a lot of times it's not obvious, but it's in there embedded somehow. And as you're thinking about your offer, think about, you know, what are you selling? Have a clear, specific offer that solves a real problem and delivers the defined result. Who is it for? Again, focus on the audience that urgently needs the solution and is ready to take action. What results do they get? A tangible outcome transformation that improves their situation in a meaningful way. And why does it matter now? You have to, you you always have to take the lead, right? Because no one knows your business better than you. So you have to really even emphasize on why it matters. And a lot of times it may require a little bit of research on your end. Maybe go on AI and ask, what are the trending topics related to my business? What are the biggest pain points? And do the research in like a matter of minutes. Be prepared, and then when you're presenting your offer, then you're really honing in on the pain points that most likely they can resonate with. How do they get started? This is another thing. A lot of times, we might pitch and tell them, wow them and tell them why it should be us, but then we don't have a simple path to, whether it's a QR code or whatever. Here's how you can contact me, or here's how you can use my free, free review of your site, or whatever it is, whatever service that you're providing. In my case, I couldn't just give away free shoes, but I did have an offer. I said, for first time customers, we give 20% off. And so that encouraged them to get started and think about taking advantage of that. Amplification roadmap. So as you're thinking about uh, how to sort of put this in a roadmap. Again, I like to take complicated things and simplify them. And I love everything that's 3 steps. And a lot of times it's really hard to do it in 3 steps. But for me, it's important to try. And this particular roadmap, if you really think about it this way, it can be done, especially with AI supporting you. Attention. Just think about attention, right? First, when you're walking into a room, you need attention. But how do you get that attention? And again, going back to your 30-second pitch, the problem you're solving, who you're communicating with. I think it's going to be important as you're thinking about attention for you to really think about where people discover you, right? And it could be on social channels. And again, when you do your research on your target audience, you'll know where the attention should be, where you should put your energy. Trust where people believe you. This is important. For people to trust you is important. And part of that is going to take some time, right? Especially if you're new, building that trust may be a little bit difficult, but online reviews usually help with that factor, depending on what it is that you're selling, obviously. Um, another Generally reviews is one way, and then if you're engaging with a prospective client, offer them references, have a list of references that you can share and immediately and say, here are 3 references that you can contact. And then conversion, where people buy. Always be on the lookout for I don't want you to spend too much time on what's new, but there are so many technologies out there that can help you really convert customers in in a much easier way than 2 years ago, than 5 years ago. So really think about where people buy, because nowadays you can post something on Instagram and then be able to sell through Instagram. You don't even need a website. So really think about those things, right? And try to find the easiest method to convert people to buy. City takeover strategy. So this is my expertise as a advertising agency owner, catering to larger brands and government sector. Unfortunately, we don't work with small businesses. We generally don't offer them city takeover campaigns because they tend to be uh, generally over 100,000 and above per month spent. But I'm going to share all my secrets here with you so that you guys could do it, because one thing that I've noticed, especially for whether you're a small business or a tech company that got funded millions of dollars, focusing on a city first, one city, and focusing on multiple channels at once is what's going to make you look really, really big and get the attention that you want versus you trying to be national or you trying to be all over the place. Just like the target audience needs to be narrowed down, same thing, your campaigns need to be narrowed down. Start with one city. Focus on the channels that work. Come up with a methodology. Once that works, you solidify, okay, if it's billboards that work, and I'll share why billboards and how you can afford billboards for less than $500 a month. Once you solidify which channels are working, once you solidify what methodology is working in that one city, then you can scale into other cities. So our city takeovers generally entail community partnerships, multiple channels, such as billboards. And I'm talking about programmatic digital billboards. I'm not talking about static billboards that cost $1,000 and up, that you have to go and buy it for 3 months or minimum and so on. I'm talking about things that the AI tools that I'll be sharing with you, that you could go and buy it for a day, buy it for an hour, buy it for a month, whatever you need based on your budget. And then same thing goes for paid media, Instagram, and nowadays with ChatGPT, you could simply ask it to teach you how to run an ad on Instagram. There's also uh, out of home. They're not billboards, but they're digital out of home advertisings where you could have your ads run in a medical office, at a bar, at a restaurant, and all these tools are available now. They years ago they were only available to agencies with a minimum buy of, you had to spend a minimum of 5,000 a month to use the platform. Nowadays, a lot of these platforms remove the threshold. There's no minimum threshold. Some might have it still, but most don't. And then offline and online integration, that's really when we talk about city takeovers, that's really the key here. I would say the secret sauce is that people are hearing you, they're seeing you, you're everywhere. You're on social, you're on podcasts, you're on streaming, you're on, they walk into a hotel and you're in the hotel lobby. And it might look really, really expensive, but because you have the ability to use these platforms to do it yourself and you're not spending thousands of dollars for an agency to do it, it's not going to be as expensive as it was years ago. And I'm talking about 2 years ago. So with that said, I'll share with you the tools in a bit, but an example campaign, right, for example, would be, partner with the local businesses. Go and talk to the local businesses and say, hey, can I leave flyers here? Or can we refer each other? Come up with a QR code where they can refer you customers, and through that QR code, you can track and see that they're referring you and maybe pay them a referral fee. Run targeted ads. And running targeted ads doesn't necessarily just mean online. It could be digital out of home also, which could be really targeted. It's targeted in the city, it's targeted in a zip code. Host small events. This is how you can get earned media. If we did a campaign years ago for a university where we didn't have time to really put together a plan, a strategy. We had to execute it in less than three weeks, and we ended up uh, putting the event together and invited a bunch of different nonprofit organizations and then pitched what we're doing and how we're going to be highlighting these nonprofit organizations to the media. And the media picked up on it and then showed our event a week before to our community, and we ended up having such a good turnout. So sometimes hosting small events for the community can be an opportunity for you to go and pitch to the media and say, I'm doing this, I'm giving back to my community by doing XYZ. And then share content consistently. Obviously, if you host an event, then you have a lot of content and you share it. The reason why it's important to share content consistently on social it's because that's how people search nowadays. A lot of times, they'll go on your Instagram to check you out, especially the younger generation. It seems like they don't even go to websites anymore to check a business. So share content and sharing content can also be utilizing your website, right? But just have that content consistently across all the different channels. So where AI helps, it can help you in messaging and positioning, like I mentioned earlier. You can really work with AI, but prompt it in a way that it can act like an expert. Always ask for it to be an expert in XYZ with 10 years or 15 years of experience. Like if I'm having my AI write an ad copy for me, my prompt is usually uh, can you be a copywriter with 15 years of experience in this industry with a direct response driven methodology so that I can acquire customers with my ad copy. So really talk to it and tell it what you want it to do, and it will act like it. And believe you me, like I sometimes if we don't prompt it with have this many years of experience and we can tell it's hallucinating, and always tell it not to hallucinate. That's another thing. And you know double, triple check its work. I usually prompt I tell it all these different things way in advance so that it doesn't make mistakes. And sometimes it might, and I go back and say, you don't make sense. Please improve this by 100 times. And I give it clear directions. And be nice to it. Content creation. This has been probably one area that I would say has been very, very helpful for us because, once you solidify your why, once you solidify why your business exists, what's the problem you're solving, who's your core audience, what's the core message, you can have you can have a chat with AI that knows all that. Then you basically feed the personas or the cities and say, I want to go and take over San Francisco. And well, yeah, or I want to take over Palo Alto, for example, and then and then target the audience and the community in Palo Alto. It's going to probably evaluate who lives in Palo Alto, that they're mostly tech people, and make sure that your messaging is relatable to the tech people in Palo Alto. So content creation is huge, but you need to do all the other things that I told you to do before you can ask for it to create content. Otherwise, without having any background, it might just it can come up with stuff, but it's going to be probably generic and maybe even similar to what others could be doing in your industry. Campaign planning is another area where I think AI could be very helpful, especially if you share your KPI, your key performance indicator. If leads is all you need, top of the funnel, you're saying, hey, I just want leads that I can call and email and nurture, then tell that to it and it'll help you plan a campaign. But again, it needs to know your brand guidelines, your goals, your company's why, all of that in order to be able to help you with that. And then follow up and outreach. This is huge. I've actually implemented AI agents. If you work with Google Workspace, Google has amazing AI features that I started using about a year ago, and it has saved me probably about 5 hours a day just on my emails. I used to spend so much time on responding to clients and emails and all of that. And I'll show it to you afterwards. I'll actually log in and show you how these follow up and outreach agents are working for me while I'm sleeping. It is life changing. And like for example, for one of my agents, so I have several agents that help me with outreach and follow up, but then I have an agent that goes into my email and writes responses to my clients, but I don't let it send. I told it to save the responses, and then every day I literally spend maybe 20 minutes or less going into my drafts and looking at what the response is and then hitting send. And a lot of times it's, I want to say, 110% correct because it has access to my Google Docs. It has access to a lot of the conversation and the email chain related to that client. It does a better job than I would because I'm human and I forget things. So that's one other example, but and I'll show you later. But as far as media buying tools, I wanted to just share a couple here that I think could help with the city takeover. And then obviously the other ones are Facebook, Instagram, PPC that you could do. That's nothing really special, but I really tried to put things that are somewhat not so much known um, in the in any industry except for marketing, right? I think most marketers might know about these, but Blip billboards is where you could go buy billboards for as low as $50. Let's say you want to be, you're running you're going to be part of a conference in a particular city, and you find a digital billboard in near that conference, and you want to be there for a day. Go on Blip Billboards, buy it for a day. The creative is super easy. You upload, it's all digital. You can have 10 different variations of a creative and then run your ad for one day, and you can even select the times that it should be running. AdQuick, Stack Adapt, these are just different display native. These are the programmatic ads. Usually, these ads cannot be blocked, like Facebook and Instagram, people can block them. These are the ads, even with AdQuick, where you can actually serve the ads based on where your prospective client goes. So it's not intrusive. So let's say they go on USA.com or MSN.com to read the news, you'll end up serving ads through that. So it's a very advanced type of advertising. And again, some of these platforms can help you. AdQuick is where we buy a lot of the hotel, gas station ads. If you want to be in you see those digital ads running at a gas station, that's the platform you could buy it from. Hotels, I mean, you name it, gyms, restaurants, bars. Anywhere that you see digital ads, and even if it's a small TV screen, AdQuick is the platform that a lot of the advertising agencies and the brands buy the media from. Craft your message. So this is a little bit more detailed explanation, and I put this so that when you get my deck, you could actually prompt the AI to sort of do this. This is super important, I think, for any business to have. But again, that one line message, I help you have to think of who get the results in XYZ by doing XYZ, right? Like I help who get results in, let's say, 5 months or 5 hours by provide, like I'll give you an example. I help small businesses get new customers in 3 weeks by providing them platforms that can help them buy media and remove ad agency costs and save them money. So this prompt will be available. I highly recommend use it. And then when I say have a 30-second pitch or one sentence that can clearly explain what it is that you do, these are just some examples. Just please focus on that. It's super, super important. And it's also important when you're working with AI, right? And to constantly remind AI and say, by the way, I do XYZ. Be my ad copywriter and do this. Because a lot of times you might just want to ask a quick question and not go back to your chat where you have your brand guidelines. But every time you start a conversation, a new chat, you want to briefly give it a background as to what it is that you do so that it acts like an expert in your field and then gives you feedback based on that. Um, the AI powered pipeline system. Again, clarity and AI assisted. Use AI to define your audience. So again, this is I'm gonna repeat this again. It's super, super important. Content generation, distribution, conversion optimization, and then outreach and optimization. And I'll let you review this on your own. Again, it's just a little bit more in detail. And then weekly AI workflow. This is a simple, repeatable workflow example that you could use um, in terms of every week, if you're using AI, how should you think about it, right? Because the reality is, yes, you can go to AI and say, help me get more customers, but it needs a little bit of direction and you need to sort of have that consistency model in place, right? Like a simple workflow. So as you're thinking about it, like as you're starting, use AI to define one clear message for a week, just so you're not feeling overwhelmed. And then start that message for a week and then use it to generate 3 to 5 pieces of content. And this example could really work well when you're trying to um, promote it organically. But it can also work if you're trying to do, let's say, paid. If you're trying to do paid media too, you could. If you're testing different messagings, using this sort of system, this flow to continue testing things. But this particular example is for organic. Use AI to generate 3 to 5 pieces of content. Draft outreach messages, emails, DMs, partnerships. Use AI to refine your offer and calls to action and to write follow-ups and responses. After I complete this presentation, I will jump into my Google so you could see how it's set up. This is, these are for the steps, the previous steps that I shared here. I'm going to recommend using ChatGPT, but the paid version. Use the paid version and make sure that when you go to in your settings, your data is not being shared for learnings. That way, everything that you are doing stays private to you. Anything that you use that's free, most likely they're going to collect your data and it's going to be out there in the in the sphere, in the AI sphere. So I would highly recommend using the paid version, even with Canva too. Paid version is really, really amazing. It has so many different features to quickly put together visuals and I'm sure a lot of you know already how easy Canva is. And then email tools to follow up and nurture. There are a bunch of email tools that have used AI for decades. Well, like literally, but and sometimes when people say, wow, AI is doing this and AI is taking over our like AI existed for a long time. It was just behind the scenes, right? Like MailChimp's been around for a long time. Constant Contact's been around for a long time. And they've used AI. All of their automation and the nurturing emails, it's AI doing it. And so it's nothing new. It's just a matter of now we just have different ways, alternative ways to use AI. But as you're thinking about sort of having an execution plan, you know, start with the messaging. It's super important. Start with that and then use Canva to create whatever template designs you need. And then use tools like MailChimp, HubSpot, Constant Contact to write your emails and the follow-ups. Again, you can go and network and or message people on LinkedIn, but if you're not really following up with them and being top of mind with them, they're not going to remember you and pay attention. That's just the way it is. And then again, just be consistent and keep repeating, but track and measure what's working. I think it's important to track. If you're not tracking, then you're not going to be able to optimize. Um, AI and government contracting. The reason why I wanted to briefly talk to you about this is because this is how I build my pipeline with the government sector. And I started working with the government back in 2020, and it was so hard. Those RFPs and RFIs were so long and just so much work. So, what I ended up doing back in 2023, I created my one sheet, my capability statement, which is necessary if you're going to work with the government. And once you work on your messaging, your mission, your vision, what problems you solve, and all of that, you can ask AI to help you create a capability statement, a one sheet for your business. And that's where you should put all your certificates if you are certified, if you're a small business, and then, some case studies, if you've been featured, all of those things. And I can share an example with you in a bit, but what I ended up doing, I worked on my one sheet after I solidified why Globify exists and what problem I'm going to be solving for the government. And I had to tweak my messaging a little bit for the government sector versus the tech because they're very different, right? And so once I solidified that, I used ChatGPT, the paid version. I started a chat, uploaded my one sheet, my capability statement, and I said, I want you to be my RFI and RFQ uh, director who helps me write proposals for RFIs and RFQs. And I want you to have over 20 years of experience in putting proposals together, but also reading and identifying the best RFIs and RFQs for me before I submit a proposal. So I prompted so that it gives me really step by step direction as to whether to move forward with that RFQ or RFI or not, based on what my capabilities are. And so, some of you might know this, some of these RFQs are about 50, 60 pages. And you have to read them to understand what it is that they need in order to decide if you want to submit a proposal or not. So, what I started doing is downloading the RFQs, the RFIs, uploading it in my AI, and then asking it quickly to look at the requirements and then list the things that I can do and then the things that I cannot do. Then the things that I cannot do, I would think, okay, do I have subcontractors that I can contact and put them under my umbrella and go after this opportunity? Or is this completely something that is not related to what I do? And so just that it by itself saved me, God, when I say hundreds of hours, I combined with my email agents right now that are working behind the scenes, my outreach and follow-up agents that are working behind the scenes, and then the government contracting opportunities that I used to spend so much time and effort, I am seriously saving hundreds of hours. Okay. And so, and that entails the team also, my team who would support me, which got actually a little bit smaller now because I don't need that much help anymore with all these automations. But going back to the government contracting opportunity, uh, so the phase one is generally, hey, tell me if this RFP or RFI or RFQ is in line with what I do. It tells me and it says, and I usually ask for it to share a percentage, right? And it says, okay, you're 99%, you qualified for this. You should write a proposal. So next, I ask for it to write me a proposal. And I ask, follow the guidelines because every RFQ and RFP generally has the guidelines, right? It says, first we want to know your bio, then we need you to submit a quote and the channels you're going to promote. In my case, usually it's advertising related. Then I need your org chart. I need this and I need that. And usually I have those things already organized, like org chart, and sometimes they need like a list of employees that are going to support you with the project. I have the generic documents already, but I might upload those in my AI for the AI to summarize in the proposal as well, and then say reference back to those documents. So, in general, when it comes to government contracting, AI is super important, I think, and very, very, very helpful, especially if you don't want to read 60 to sometimes even 100-page documents that are just too much. And it just helps you get to the point and decide yes or no, and then helps you write it. Uh, and I'm happy to please put the questions in the Q&A. I'm so happy to answer any questions and share examples. And then AI workflow best practices, again, start with, act as a marketing strategist. To me, I always do that. Everything, every single, even the simplest conversation where, let's say I'm trying to communicate something with my daughter and I'm trying to, you know, say something in a way that it's not going to upset her. I might, ask my AI, hey, act like a 19-year-old and tell me how to say this so that my daughter, like, just prompt it that way. Get comfortable with it and think of it like your assistant, right? And then build simple workflows. Um, I think in the beginning, when I started using AI, um, I started using AI about 15 years ago, but still is called machine learning. We used it to do predictive analysis on our campaigns. If our clients came, especially tech clients, and said, I want to acquire this many customers in the next 6 months, tell me which channels would help us drive those customers. We would use AI to go back and analyze case studies and then analyze the client and then give us a projected analysis of how many customers we can get in 6 months. So for me, AI has been around for a long time, but to be able to use the large language model is a game changer. To be able to build workflows for me was new, to we share reportings with our clients every month. And uh, I used to have a full-time analyst who used to review the data and then write a big long 2-page report and then write a summary in an email. And those things took hours and it cost me so much. Now we took those templates, we took an example of a report, uploaded in the AI and said, you're going to be our data analyst who's going to write reports every month for XYZ. And of course, we protect the data because there's never a client name in there. There's never anything that indicates, it's just a bunch of numbers, right? So we're always very careful as to what we're feeding the AI, even though it's private and it's ours, it still doesn't matter. We would never share any names, okay? Just to be safe. So it's usually uploading data, and the data could be like, here are the number of billboards we were on. This is the number of impressions, total impressions we got. the, we did the geofence programmatic ads. We were in 20 locations. We had this many impressions, this many clicks, this many forms, this many calls, and this many applications. So it's generic information. That's why we're easily able to upload it. And then once it gives us we upload the data, and then once it gives us the summary and explains it in simple words so that our clients can understand easily what's happening with their campaign, then we'll go back and tweak it a little bit. But there's generally, all our clients need is the data and the performance, which is general data. But again, be very cautious of the things that you upload in there. If you're dealing with clients and customers, don't include names, don't include any private information. If it's just random numbers and words like billboard, cities, whatever, you're safe. And generally, everything for us, it's pretty much safe like that we use it for. Um, and then best practices, again, use it as your assistant, not your decision maker. At the end of the day, you have to make the final decision if whatever it's saying, if you agree or not. Always review and refine before sending. Start simple and improve over time. Speed, clarity, consistency will give you the competitive advantage. AI agents using Google AI. Yeah, I want to show you guys an example of this actually. How I I felt so comfortable using AI agents with Google versus any other platform for two reasons. Well, one, it's very easy to use. Number two, I've been using Google Workspace for the past 20 years. They have everything. I my documents are there, everything is there. And so for me, it was no brainer to create an agent through Google, which is already connected to everything. And it helped me simplify and automate a lot of the work that I do. Um, And then final takeaways, again, you got to have clarity. You have to decide what your why is. You have to really solidify that first, then think about visibility, then think about conversion, and that will lead to pipeline. So, you know, just remember that most people are not going to understand what you do the way you do. And in order to simplify it, one of the best ways is to use AI. A lot of times I might think that whatever I'm articulating is simple enough, but then I'll ask AI, please simplify this even more so that a second grader can understand it. So that's one takeaway. And then distribution matters right now a lot than just creating the content. You have to really think through where you're distributing your content. It's not about, oh, let me distribute my content in as many places as possible. The chances are that you're spending a lot of time and money and not really getting the results that you should be getting. So I would say focus on where you're distributing your content, follow up where most sales are actually happening. AI can be your advantage if you use it and let it, and then don't overthink it, right? Just start using it, start executing with a system in mind, and hopefully when you get my deck, you can go back and follow that system. It's a super simple system. I apply it to almost everything, to almost every campaign, every business that I've started. For me, it always started with my why, having that clear message, and then using the technology that is always changing to do what I need to do. But if you have this simple methodology of, okay, I'm going to solidify what it is that I need to do, create it, and then amplify it, it helps minimize the stress a little bit, right? Just put it in three buckets: solidify, create, and amplify. That's actually my methodology. So just think of it that way. You're going to do a campaign. All right, let's solidify. Why are we doing it? What's our message? Who's the target audience? Then create. Where are we going to create it? Where are we going to run it? What do we need? We need the assets, we need the channels, we need this, and then amplify it. Okay, let's boost it. Let's pay here and there and so on. And remember, people using AI will outperform those who don't. So thank you so much. And then if you want to check your Y score to see where you're at, you can use the QR code here. And I will send you your Y score. And this is just a quick little exercise to see how clear you are on your why. But and I'll come back to this screen really fast, but I just wanted to share with you one more thing, if it's okay, about one more channel. I'm so sorry. I just need to stop sharing my screen for a second. Oops, I did stop sharing. Okay. So I just want to share my agents right now for you to see, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, so this, for example, right here is create email response drafts for clients and vendors. So generally, any other email that I get, most of them are spam or they're not really that important. What I ended up doing is putting my clients' emails here. As you could see, this is all my clients' emails. And then I used AI to help me build this agent, by the way. I didn't know how to do this. I just went to ChatGPT and I said, I want to build an agent that can go and help me draft an email for all my clients on a daily basis. As my client emails are coming up, draft an email, save me time. And so ChatGPT helped me draft this. And as you could see here, it says, it gave me the prompt and said, copy and paste. And I told AI, my ChatGPT, I said, give me clear instructions, but give me simple, clear instructions. Don't like explain your instructions. Just tell me step one, copy the below. Step two, copy the below. Because sometimes my chat can talk too much, kind of like me, and it can actually give me too many details, and I get overwhelmed. I'm like, no, 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 just tell me what to paste, what to copy and paste, and let's move forward. And so I copied and pasted this, and then it it drafts my emails using Gemini, but Gemini is so smart because it's already embedded in my email flow. It actually goes in there and reads the conversation, has access to my documents, and drafts these emails better than I can. And then I'm using AppScript, which is this is what I'm using to do all of my follow-ups and my outreach. I uploaded my lead lists. Let me open this up for you. So what I ended up doing is I had these Excel documents of, you know, for example, FIFA food lead. So FIFA's coming to Los Angeles in June, and we wanted to contact food companies, food brands, and we have this huge list of maybe, I don't know, 100 or 150 major food brands that we wanted to reach out and say, hey, if you need to advertise when FIFA's in Los Angeles, let us know. We can help you. We're in Los Angeles and we're experts at city takeovers. So I ended up uploading a lead list, just a simple Excel document with the names, with their contacts and everything. And then I ended up creating an app script. Again, these are, I don't know, they're agents, right? And I plugged it in and I said, using AI again, I said, well, I'm just going to explain one example here. Oh, I want to show you this one too, actually, in a little bit. So I said, please create draft emails in my email and then go in there, but don't send. So what it did is it went and I had over 150, created 150 customized emails and ended up keeping it in my draft, customized emails by custom and I had AI help me prompt this correctly so that it switched out the company name, the person's name, because it's all on the document, right? And I uploaded the Excel document. I said, here's the Excel document. Create a custom email for each lead here and save it in my draft. And then I'm going to see if I can open up the draft. Hold on one second. Let me just really quickly open this so you could see it. Because we did it from my assistant's email and I have to log in really quickly. And this is one example of what we started in her email. Oh, it's not letting me log in. And then what I ended up doing is prompting it to not send the emails all at once. I said send only 50 emails a day. Or I think we started maybe with 25. I think I have to check. Okay, let me share my screen right now so you could see it. I'm closely monitoring this, even though my assistant is doing it. But look, it's sending drafts every hour, and then these are the food company sales emails. So I used AI to help me draft this. I said, I'm going to go into my Google App Script, and I want to start sending emails to my food leads, right? And then give me the directions. So I literally AI wrote all of this and told me exactly where to go, where to plug in, what to do. And then I'm going to show you what it did. Let's see. Oops. Let me go to my email. And then what it ended up doing here is, let me go to my draft so you could see it. So look, it created everything all at once. Now it's slowly emailing it to each prospective client. Hi, Greg, just checking in to see if your team is planning to have a presence in LA during 2026 FIFA World Cup. Do you see the simplicity of this? Like it drafted everything for me, but then because I prompted to go and um, send the draft every hour, it's because if I send it very quickly, let's say I send 20 at once, I'll get flagged. My agency's website can get flagged and in trouble. So I paste it so it's every hour and I paste it, I think, so it's um I don't know, maybe daily 10. I don't remember exactly the directions that we gave it. But that's another thing. You ask AI and say, make sure to give me directions in a way that it's not going to, um, you know, get me in trouble or whatever. And with that being said, I wanted to wrap it up and oops, sorry, and open it up for questions.
Maria, that was great.
Thank you.
Such good content. Really, really appreciated. Everybody's been very complimentary. I would like to start with the first question that was out there from Jordan, and it was very much about agents, right? So his question was, I wanted to ask, how do you get agents built? Do you have a dedicated person on your staff that does that? What's been the most effective way to get agents built?
AI, I use ChatGPT. I'm being very honest with you. I am not techie at all, at all. Yes, we've been using machine learning for advertising and predictive analysis, but never used, I'm not a coder. Yeah, I just used ChatGPT paid version and that was it.
So you just kind of experimented
Yeah,
around your basic, because you talk a lot in about how AI can help around messaging and content creation as places to start. So you just kind of practiced on that tool and
I
then,
practiced. I
yeah.
practiced, but I did have the strategy in place. And that's why in the beginning of my presentation, I went over the strategy, the steps that you need to focus on addressing and talking about before you jump in and ask AI to do XYZ. Because AI needs to understand who you are, what it is that you do before it can actually help you, right? So you need to give it background and training.
We have another question from Ben about OpenClaw, whether or not you've actually used OpenClaw. He says he sees it everywhere right
Yeah.
now. Are you
Yeah,
using it?
I'm jumping into that actually. I'm a little late in the game, but yes, I heard OpenClaw is a game changer. I don't know much about it yet because I haven't used it personally, but I've heard from friends that it is much, much easier and better than anything they've tried. So,
Good, good, good. Excellent. Well, I think you've already answered this one, but this is more of a comment. But when Justin realized he could ask AI to actually write the code, he was in his words nerded out, which I think is pretty happy,
yeah.
pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
So uh, we've got another question here. Do you suggest creating our email in Google to make all the links together? So you sounds like you're kind of recommending Google more so than maybe some of the other emails.
Well, only because I use Google Workspace. So for me, it makes sense to work with Google and build the Google agents in Google because I was a little hesitant at letting ChatGPT or because you can have ChatGPT come into your email and be able to help you with a lot of these things that I showed, like drafting the email and answering and all of that. I didn't feel comfortable with that, even though I still put it um, in my settings that it's not supposed to share my data with to learn, right? You have that setting where you could actually say, don't learn from me, which means that it doesn't end up going into the large language sphere and learns from it. But I still was hesitant to use it. And I felt with Google, Google already has access to all of my things, right? And if I'm going to use their agent, then it's not that bad because they have
Sure,
access to everything
sure.
to begin with. But Claude is something else that the things I've been hearing about it is just insane. I can't wait to jump into that. But I do feel like I need a whole day to jump into that. And that's another thing with AI. Make sure you're dedicating time. Like, make sure you're dedicating a couple of hours to get in it and figure things out. Because if you do it one off, like 10 minutes here, 5 minutes here, it's like anything else. You start, but then you forget, and then you have to go back and restart again. So make sure you're allocating enough time to get, let's say, if you're going to go through my methodology of solidify, create, and amplify, sit down for a couple of hours and get through that process with your business, solidify everything, the messaging and all of that, and then have it help you decide which platforms and what you're going to do. And then take a break, maybe 2 days later, go back and figure out how to amplify. But that brainstorming session, try to do it all at once so that you are not getting distracted and getting to complete it actually.
Good, good, good. Justin had a follow-up question, and I think kind of a statement about his presumption is AI equals a workflow sequence of tasks that either runs automatically or runs and executes on the user commands. And there's background parameters, etc. Would you agree with that approach? And
I
do
do
you have
agree with
any
that approach.
preference one way or another?
I do agree with that approach. Let me just, sorry, read the last part. Yes, yes, absolutely. Um, I think like I said, there are so many tools out there that have been using AI for so long, if you really think about it, like Klaviyo. I've been using Klaviyo since 2019 or 18, and they've had their workflows, email workflows there since 2018. And back then they weren't referring it to that as AI, but now, when you're thinking about it, it's AI. And so, yeah, absolutely. Um, another,
Farah had a question about any suggestions for, I guess, more of a hands-on workshop to kind of learn, how to do some of these settings. Is anything you would recommend?
I've tried taking some myself. I did. And a lot of these workshops, what I don't like about them, and I gave up, I'll be honest with you, I gave up because a lot of them end up selling either their tools, their softwares, or they're selling something. And I'm just like they'll teach me one or two things, and then that main thing that I need to learn, it's like, oh, here, buy this or pay me this much to know this. And so I get very annoyed. And I've spent a lot of time initially trying to figure things out by watching webinars and looking at different YouTube. YouTube can be actually more helpful than webinars. But then at one point, I just said, you know what? I'm going to use ChatGPT and have it help me, period. Because ChatGPT, I can articulate and explain what I need. My needs are so specific, they're so customized that if I look at this and look at that, yes, it can be helpful. But at the end of the day, my business is so different. No one understands it like I do. So I would really encourage, use AI to just use ChatGPT, use Gemini, whatever it is, Grok, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, and ask it to help you build whatever it is that you need to build. And it will help you, I promise you. That's how I ended up building my AI agents.
Great, great. Couple of more questions. It's Cheryl had a question. It's great to hear that AI is helping your productivity, but she's curious, why has your team become smaller? Shouldn't higher productivity lead to more contracts, or has the competition, I guess, become
Well,
more
yes,
intense?
AI is definitely changing the marketing industry so rapidly, so rapidly. And and it's also changing my internal business, right? If it took 10 people to do something before, now because I have AI, it's taking maybe two people to do the work that 10 people did it before. So I've built out efficiencies and automations where years ago I couldn't have that. And so it's not necessarily that we don't have our businesses shrinking. No, our business is growing, but thanks to the automation and the AI, we don't need so many people to do what we needed to do. And to be honest with you, um, for me, it's not even I don't want to seem like I took away jobs ultimately by using AI. But at the same time, with government contracting and any work in advertising, it fluctuates. We don't have steady income. One month we're thriving and we have all these contracts, and then maybe 2 months is just so slow, and it's really hard to be in an industry that's fluctuating to keep full-time employees. So some of these people were contractors, right? And that's how our industry sometimes, most people in marketing may use a lot of contractors, independent contractors. And so when it fluctuates and and you don't have enough business, or you do have too much business, then you pull them in as needed. But with AI, when we realized a lot of things could be automated and should be automated, especially with the advertising tools that I shared with you, before we had a media buyer that would go and negotiate with billboard vendors to buy us digital billboards. Now you saw, I didn't share that screen with you, actually. I'm happy to share it really quickly. But if you see um, here, I'm just going to do a quick screen share.
You
So
do that all online now, basically.
yeah, and you do it online. And like, if you really think about it, I don't need a media expert now to help me negotiate on billboards because it's online, and a coordinator can do that. And so, and that's the thing, the reality that it's changing. I think AI is changing marketing so rapidly. If you were to ask me which industry is it changing the most, I'm going to say marketing and advertising. And that's why, our industry leaders should think about implementing more AI because, and the reason why I'm training and sharing some of these tools is because eventually I don't think any brand is going to need a lot of the things that advertisers and marketing agencies offer. They might need their strategy and this not, but eventually, I think with all this technology, like this is one example of how you can build out a campaign for any budget. I spoke about location based, for example. Here's one simple one. We're going to build out a campaign in seconds, okay? So we're going to say we're going to spend $5 daily, choose a few billboards. You could see the signs. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay. You could see the signs, you add the signs, and then you continue, and then you upload, you add the creatives. I don't have the creatives now, or maybe I do. Here, I'm just gonna add some of my creatives here, if
I
that'll work.
remember back in the day, this process would take literally
Weeks,
weeks, if not months,
weeks,
to get
weeks.
copy onto a billboard. It was
Weeks. And then you put your design and it tells you the specs you need it in. You go to Canva, you design it, you put it in specs, and then you go to next. You put your credit card here. You already have your daily spend. You decide on the schedule, which hours you wanted, which days, maybe it's just Mondays you wanted or days. And then you select the day you wanted. You could do it as low as one day here. And then and then you submit, launch the campaign. I mean, you could do this in literally 5 minutes.
it's
And
amazing.
so, and in reality, you know, no matter how much you grow, technology is going to help you scale with a smaller team. And
Absolutely. And speaking of that, so another question from Amos, do you draw a line between certain types of tasks you want to reserve for humans versus your,
absolutely.
AI?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, there are so many things, especially when we're dealing with clients, we cannot share, even if it's private, we cannot share any of that in whether it's strategy, like for example, personas when we're and you have to be careful, right? Especially if you're dealing with clients, you're servicing clients, you have to ask for permission and say, "Hey, I'm going to use your personas to build out campaign messaging. Is that okay?" You have to be really open about it. But then as you're thinking about yourself too, if you're developing something and you're developing an app or a technology, which I'm in the midst of doing, there is a line of how much I share with AI versus how much I keep to myself or with my engineers. So I would say yes, absolutely, and be very cautious of making sure that you're not sharing anything proprietary uh, with AI that could be proprietary based on your clients' proprietary information or even yours.
Yeah, perfect. Can you put your contact information again back in
Absolutely.
the chat,
Absolutely.
Maria? Because we
Yes,
had a
there you go.
question from Pervin about that.
There you
Excellent.
go. Yes.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay.
Oh,
I
one
guess
more
just,
question there.
yeah,
Sorry, can you
go.
expand on what Amplify entails? Amplify entails literally marketing and advertising. And because now you have tools like Blip Billboards, for example, where you could put a billboard up for $50 or less if you want, that's amplifying, right? Like getting your message out there in ways that was never possible. And even now, most people don't know about these tools because agencies are using it. But in reality, I think it's going to change and brands are going to learn about it more and more. Can you hire Maria? Absolutely, but I'm training now. We're slowly moving away from execution, and training teams to bring marketing in-house and to help them with strategy, and then we teach them how to execute so that they could do it on their own over and over. It's more cost effective, and it works much, much better at the end of the day than a lot of times, if you're buying media. But if you have an agency that's doing creative work for you, that's different. I want to be really clear that when I refer to advertising and marketing agencies, I'm mostly talking about us, my agency, because we're a media buying agency, and I'm starting to see that there's less and less need for us because of the tools that's out there. And I sometimes feel bad charging our clients thousands of dollars when I'm buying it from a tool like Blip, and I share it with them. I'm like, listen, just I'm going to save you a couple of $1,000. I know I'm taking business away from me, but I want to share this. Let me teach you how to do this. And it goes a long way sometimes when you help them.
Great. Well, I think we've covered, we've got the request for the website, but that'll be in your deck. What is your website? Um, so I think that will be in
Yes.
your deck. I think we've answered pretty much all the questions here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna share my screen real quick for the audience. I would like to just mention a little bit about the SCORE webinars. As our mission continues to help small businesses start, grow, and thrive. We want to bring in content from all expert creators, and anything that you can do to support our mission would be very much appreciated. So I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to listen to a video that we have queued up here that talks a little bit about SCORE's situation.
Before we wrap up, I want to take just 1 minute to say thank you for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we're honored you chose SCORE to help you grow your business. Now, SCORE has always offered these webinars free of charge. But here's the reality. Due to changes in federal funding, some of our support has been delayed or even cut. And while we're committed to keeping these programs free, we need your help to do it. Think of it like this. 6 Today's webinar gave you real value. Maybe leave us a little tip, the way you would for a waitress who gave great service. Or maybe you want to give forward so the next entrepreneur can benefit just like you did, only asking if it's within your means. If not, please just keep learning and growing with us. You can give $5, $10, $25, whatever feels right will be directly helping us keep these webinars free for everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much for.
There's a secure link in the chat. It takes less than a minute to make a difference. Thank you again for being here, for your energy, and for supporting SCORE's mission to help entrepreneurs. Before we wrap up, I want to take just.
Excellent. Here's the information. Whoop, I went a little too fast there. And this will be sent to everybody, and I will actually also put it in the chat. Thanks again. Any final comments before we close, Maria?
No, I just want to thank everybody for taking the time. I think the fact that you took the time to be here is a huge step, and I highly encourage you to use it. Use it with caution, obviously, but take advantage of it and use it because if you don't, your competitors are clearly using it and getting ahead of you. So good luck and reach out anytime. If you get stuck on something, reach out, email me. I love helping my community. Uh, Small businesses for me are that's where my passion lies, and I'm always happy to help answer any questions or share any resources or tools that I learn about or use. So thank you all.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate this. Got several claps and hearts and everything. So well received. Very good. Thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you. And stay positive, believe in your why and stick with it because eventually others will see it too and help support you. Good luck. Thank
Perfect.
you.
All right. Bye bye, everybody.